Peter O'Sullivan.
One is Okrabora, written by John Cushman, the American champion now. 2 is Bold Agent, written by Niall Madden. 3, Barine Door, written by Anthony Webber. 4, Barine Prince, written by Brendan Sheridan. 6, Champagne Charlie, Richard Lindley. 11, Glasgow Central, Richard Rowe. 12, Half Free, John Frankham. 13, Istimure, Tommy Rowan. 14, Mari Venture, Sean Keatley. 15, Miller Hill, Tom Morgan. 17, Noblissimo, Tommy Carberry. 19, Blinkard, Ryeman, written by Alan Brown. 20, St. Jonathan, John Joe O'Neill. 21, Shady Nook, Bill Smith. 22, Silka Key, written by Steve Jobar. 24 is Stormy Spring, Peter Scudamore. 25, Omnipotent, Colin Brown. 27, Tennis Track, Gareth Charles Jones. And 28, Trumpster, written by Podgill.
An exception.
The horse is looking extremely well. The first one we see going down there is 24. This is Stormy Spring, and one of the very strong contingent fielded by David Nicholson, who trains only over the hill at Stow-on-the-Wold. Ridden by Peter Scudamore, who is chasing John Frankham up really hotly this season for the Jockeys' Championship. Stormy Spring has been the winner of his last 3 races, and that was after a rather disappointing few performances. He's really come good now, but on those 3 wins he's been ridden by 3 different jockeys, so obviously not a one jockey horse, this one, but he goes in the ground. He comes from a stable in form, ridden by an excellent jockey, Stormy Spring, number 24, and let's see how they bet. We also have a result from Sedgefield for you.
Well, Stormy Spring to start with is down the betting, 20 to 1. Half Free, the favourite, opened at 7 to 2, is now 3 to 1. So there's confidence there. Bold Agent, 11 to 2. Is Temoa, 13 to 2. Boreen Prince is on 7 to 1. St. Jonathan, 8 to 1. Miller Hill, Omnipotent, Stormy Spring, 20 to 1. Noblissimo is 22 to 1. That opened at 25, so it's come in a little. Ryeman, 25 to 1. So is Trumpster. Okrabora, 33 to 1. Doreen Door, 40s, and Champagne Charlie, the same price, 40 to 1. 50 to 1 bar these.
Tongue twisters of names here, especially with some of the Irish runners, and that's the view that they'll get. The silver ring, the cabbage patch as we call it, is on the left of the picture there, but look at that green strip, and they'll have to really fight as they go up there for the final time. Most of the runners have looked at the inspection hurdle, the first hurdle, and as Julian said, 7 Irish runners here. Most of them are fancied. Mick O'Toole with Bold Agent in the first race, and there are the cross belts. That could be Boreen Door, but he's a long way off us. In fact, it looks very much like him from here. I noticed him in the paddock, and I thought how well he did look. Boreen Prince coming back towards us. Caused a stir, this one, in the Sachs hurdle. That's the Sachs Hotel hurdle at Leopardstown. He beat Gamble's Hall and made a big improvement on his previous form. He's been a nice little horse, this, and 3 in a row now. Brendan Sheridan rides this one, and he's one of the more fancied Irish horses, although each of them think that they'll win here today. Andy McNamara trains this one, and he's by Boreen, as his name suggests. Goes in this ground. There is the favourite, or there is Half Free rather, coming towards us with the breast girth on, number 12, ridden by John Frankham, and Half Free has only been beaten once from 4 outings so far this season. That was at Huntington when he was 4th behind Angelo Salvini. He's won here, and he's won twice at Ascot. Very, very heavy ground when he won here, and in fact, although he won by 7 lengths, he made slightly more heavy weather of it that day than when winning at Ascot. He's a very good horse, but although he's won in the heavy, I'm not convinced he's quite at his best in it, but I'd be very disappointed if he's not bang there at the finish. There on the back, just coming to meet us with the red jacket, green sleeves, this is number 2, Bold Agent, ridden by Niall Madden, and representing Mick O'Toole's stable, who love to have a winner here. They in fact won this race last year with Hartstown. Niall was in the saddle, Mick O'Toole trained it, and Bold Agent was considered one of the nicest young hurdlers in Ireland, until lately that was, and he rather has disappointed his last couple of runs, although in the sweeps hurdle he was bang there turning for home and then just fizzled out. But if you go back a little way, his form is top class. But let's see if there's any change in the market.
Well, Half Free is still favourite, 3 to 1. Bold Agent, whom we've been looking at, is 11 to 2 second favourite. Is Temoa 13 to 2. Boreen Prince 7-1, St. Jonathan 8-1. That stayed at the same price right from the beginning of the betting. Miller Hill 20-1, so is Omnipotent. Noblissimo 22-1, Stormy Spring and Ryeman 25-1. Trumpsters 33s on 40-1, Boreen Door and Champagne Charlie, and it's 50-1 bar.
There in the red jacket is the 8-1 shot, St. Jonathan, ridden by John Joe O'Neill. And isn't it good to see him here after so many reports, unfavourable ones in the press over the last week about John Joe having one leg on and one leg off? Well, here he is. It was only flu, he's shaken it off, and he was looking well when we saw him before racing. Half free, 11-4 favourite, from 3-1, 11-2 bar. But St. Jonathan, John Joe's mount there, used to be trained by Barry Hills. There was a tremendous gamble on this one for the guineas, but he didn't quite go through with it. Well, taken to hurdling well. He was only beaten a short head on his first run, and then won by 10 lengths next time out. He's 7-1 from 8. I wonder just will he be man enough in this big field. He's a classy colt, and a lot of colts don't like being knocked around in wet ground and in big fields, but he's got a lot of scope, a lot of class, and if John Joe can keep him out of trouble, he should have a fair bit of finishing speed. Istamua is 6-1 from 13-2. And number 17 is Noblissimo, the chestnut, very good-looking colt. Looked exceptionally well in the paddock, ridden by Tommy Carberry. This one formerly trained by Frankie Durr. He then went to France, won there, and he's run well in Ireland, including third to Boreen Prince at Leopardstown. He's sure to pick up races. He loves the heavy ground, and so many of them have a good chance in this, but this is a nice horse. Keep your eye on him. That's Noblissimo, number 17, ridden by the veteran of Cheltenham, Tommy Carberry. Noblissimo, 25s from 22s. If you fancy a long shot, you could do worse than that one. Number 28 there, Trumpster, another Irish horse. This one absolutely revels in the heavy ground. The heavier it is, the better. He's not very big, and he's only a 4-year-old. He's taking on older horses. There are just 3 4-year-olds in this race. But Trumpster, who is trained by Harry de Bromhead and ridden by Podge Gill, is one that certainly won't be inconvenienced by the ground. Trumpster 20-1 from 33s. He's not a very big horse and probably wasn't the best looking horse in the paddock, but it's actions that count here at Cheltenham. Those who can come up the hill are the ones that win. It looks as if they're coming under orders for this, the first race of the festival, and for it we join Peter O'Sullivan.
Thank you, Richard. Yes, the white flag up. And John Frankham and Half Free jump off well, with Champagne Charlie and Ryeman right up with them, and the blinkered Ryeman is going to land over the first of the 8 flights in the lead. Ryeman doesn't jump it too well, but at the top of it, but got away with it. And all 19 safely over the first. They make their way towards the second flight. Ryeman in the lead from Champagne Charlie and Half Free and St. Jonathan. Just in behind them come Tennis Track. Behind Tennis Track is Boreen Door. And then Stormy Spring and Silka Key and Noblissimo and Okra Bora on the inside of Okra Bora, Bold Agent. But Ryeman, the blinkered Ryeman, the only blinkered runner with a commanding advantage as they jump the second. Ryeman a long way clear of Champagne Charlie and Boreen Door and Half Free on the inside, St. Jonathan and Okra Bora, and then comes Glasgow Central. Behind them Boreen Prince, and the back marker at the moment is Shady Nook. And it's still Ryeman with a very commanding advantage of about 12 lengths at the moment from Champagne Charlie and Glasgow Central and Boreen Door, and then Okra Bora and Half Free on the inside, and then Tennis Track and Boreen Prince, and then Omnipotent, and on the inner then is Istamua. Behind Istamua is Stormy Spring, and then Silka Key and Noblissimo, and then Mari Venture. And the 3 back markers at the moment are Bold Agent, Shady Nook and Miller Hill. As the leader comes to the third, Ryeman jumps it a long way clear of Glasgow Central and Champagne Charlie and Boreen Door and Okra Bora and Half Free on the inside. Just in behind them, St. Jonathan going well, then Stormy Spring. Boreen Prince on the far side with Istamua making progress now. Miller Hill has made a bit of ground, but Ryeman has a very commanding advantage as they race towards the 4th of the 8 flights in this Waterford Crystal Supreme Novices Hurdle. Ryeman jumps it with Alan Brown, a long way clear of Glasgow Central and Champagne Charlie. Then comes Okrabora, who made a slight mistake there. Shading have jumped it last. Half Free's making ground on the inside, with Boreen Door still very well in contention also. Just in behind them is Timuus, and Jonathan also not far behind the second group. But the leader coming to the 5th, still a long, long way clear. Ryeman jumps it about 15 lengths clear of Champagne Charlie, then Glasgow Central, then Okrabora, then Half Free on the inside, then Istimua. Just in behind them, Bold Agent making a bit of progress now. St. Jonathan still very well in touch and beginning to run down the hill with only 3 flights left to jump, and Ryeman in splendid isolation at the moment as they race down the hill with only 3 flights left to jump. And Istimua has now moved into second. Bold Agent making ground on the outside. Half Free making ground on the inner. St. Jonathan coming there quite strongly too. Coming down to the 3rd last flight now. Ryeman jumped it a long way clear of Istimua, Bold Agent, then on the inside Half Free, and Boreen Prince also making very good progress with Miller Hill also. But it's Ryeman for the north of England with a commanding advantage still from 4 Irish pursuers now. Bold Agent, Istimua, Boreen Prince and Miller Hill, and Istimua has fallen there and has brought down Half Free. Istimua, a faller at that one, and Half Free has been brought down, and they're racing now around the home turn. And St. Jonathan was brought down, not Half Free, but Half Free was interfered with, and he's out of contention. Ryeman is coming to it with the advantage now, the clear advantage over Bold Agent, Miller Hill and Boreen Prince. Ryeman lands in the lead, Bold Agent lands second, Miller Hill lands third, racing into the closing stages, and it's Ryeman being pressed by Miller Hill, and then Bold Agent, and then Omnipotent putting in a tremendous run in the closing stages. And Miller Hill beginning to get up on the near side now, coming to challenge and take it up, and Miller Hill looks as though he's going to win it. And as they come to the line, Miller Hill has won it. In second place is Ryeman, third is Bold Agent in a photo with Omnipotent. Behind him came Boreen Prince and Noblissimo, and then Mari Venture. Behind Mari Venture was Champagne Charlie, and looking right back to the back markers, Stormy Spring and Tennis Track. The back markers, and so the result of the Waterford Crystal Supreme Novices Hurdle. First, number 15, Miller Hill, owned by Mr. J.L. Harvey, trained in Ireland by Desi Hughes and ridden by Tom Morgan. Second was number 19, Ryeman, owned by Mr. David Slater, trained by Peter Easterby, ridden by Alan Brown, and it's a photograph for 3rd place. A photograph between Bold Agent and Omnipotent, between number 2 Bold Agent and Omnipotent number 25. But no doubt about the 1-2. Let's review the closing stages again with Richard Pittman.
And what price would you have given about Ryeman as he came round the last bend? He must have been 10 lengths clear of his pursuers, who were well strung out. Istimua had made a terrible mistake. He was on the floor but actually got up at the second last and interfered terribly with Half Free. But just now look at Tommy Morgan, who's bringing Miller Way right over to the outside of the course. He's obviously done his homework and he's walked the track. He's decided to come up the outside rail where the ground is best. Ryeman, though, starting to go nowhere. That headstrong gallop all the way that looked like paying off has now been his undoing. He's wandering all over the course. He nearly went to go round again, and he must be feeling desperately tired. A terrible position for Alan Brown to be in. But Tommy Morgan and Miller Hill coming up the stand side on the best ground. I wonder how many of the other riders will do that later on, and the photograph there looks as if Bold Agent has got 3rd place.
And so Desi Hughes, the hero of so many of the festival events here, including of course a Gold Cup and a Champion Hurdle, trains his first winner. Miller Hill by Green Shoon out of Shunaro, by Straight Deal, a Wartime Derby winner. Half Brother, a Deep Shine. Winner last time out of a maiden hurdle at Fairy House last month by 6 lengths. Ran on with tremendous determination in this exceptionally testing ground here at Cheltenham, which finally found out Ryeman after a very courageous bid to make every yard of the running over this arduous 2 miles. And so the Irish sequence in this Waterford Crystal Supreme Novices hurdle is now extended to 6. Happy to be able to report that John Joe O'Neill was up on his feet quite quickly after being brought down on St. Jonathan. Officially placed 3rd was number 2, Bold Agent. 4th was number 25, Omnipotent. 20 to 1, the winner, and 2.5 lengths and 4 lengths. Early this morning, and he's tackling the big guns later in the afternoon in the champion hurdle with another story. It will also be ridden by Tom Morgan. Has the honor of being the first jockey to ride into the new winner's enclosure at New Cheltenham. Des Hughes giving the horse he trains a pat there. And the full starting price is as follows.
First, number 15, Miller Hill, 20 to 1. Second, number 19, Ryeman, 25 to 1. And third, number 2, Bold Agent, 11 to 2. First, Miller Hill, 20 to 1. Second, Ryeman, 25 to 1. And third, Bold Agent, 11 to 2. The jackpot number there, 115.